The deposed leader of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, pleaded not guilty to all 4 counts against him in New York on Monday. The charges include drug-terrorism conspiracy, cocaine importation conspiracy, and possession of machine guns and destructive devices. He was taken by helicopter from a federal jail in Brooklyn to Manhattan early Monday. Flag-waving protesters, both opposing and celebrating Maduro's capture, rallied in the cold outside a courthouse separated by police. Meanwhile, hundreds of Maduro's supporters gathered outside a courthouse to protest his capture. I'm now joined by global policy analyst Alexander von Rugen for the latest as it's playing out in the New York court. Thank you very much for being here. Is it even legal for the president of one country to be taken to another country to face trial when it's not The Hague, when it's not a UN-sanctioned body? Your thoughts?
Well, this has happened before. In fact, it's almost a cookie cutter to what happened before. In 1989, President Noriega of Panama was accused of the identical crime, and he was renditioned into America and stood trial. Also, the loophole at that time that America used, it was a Department of Justice charge. It wasn't a military action, quote unquote. An FBI agent went in with the backup of the US military to protect the extraction team. Of course, the extraction team was likely a Black Ops military outfit, SEALs or Delta Force, much like in Maduro's case. He was extracted. In fact, the US government has a special term for it. We call it rendition. So everyone else would call it kidnapping. But he was brought to Miami, stood trial, and was convicted to 40 years. In the case of Maduro, again, he was charged or indicted in absentia in 2020. A bounty was put on his head of $50 million. And it was the Department of Justice-led team that went into Caracas to arrest him. Now, of course, the optics on this looked like it was a full-scale military operation, which in effect it was. But the government narrative on it from the U.S. is that U.S. forces were there to clear a corridor so that the extraction by the Department of Justice could be done safely for the people involved. And they're sticking by that story.
I mean, he says he has been kidnapped, yet he is making a plea of not guilty and then choosing not to seek a bail. What are your thoughts as to this strategy? Is it a legal strategy, or is it a way of asserting his claims that perhaps the U.S. are overreaching?
He didn't apply for bail because he wouldn't have gotten it anyway. He's definitely a risk of flight, especially when he's been renditioned to come into the country. The nature of his crime and his stature would dictate that as well. The fact that he's claiming he was kidnapped, I mean, he's appealing to his base in Venezuela with the hopes that he'll get sympathy and support both in his own country and, of course, globally. I'm sure there are a lot of dictators around the world that are sleeping with one eye open right now.
Okay, Maduro's son has come out to tell the world that his father has been kidnapped and is seeking international collaboration and help. I think the word he used was international solidarity. What would an international solidarity look like beyond the current statements being issued from Africa to China and Russia and the likes?
Knee-jerk reactions. They have to say, we oppose this, just like they did when Noriega was brought into America. But the precedent's been set. He used the diplomatic immunity defense, and regardless, he was charged. Under U.S. court, they have what they call a care frisbee doctrine, which dictates that the method of transport doesn't bar jurisdiction, although it can be contested. So in other words, you can be kidnapped to be brought into the United States to stand trial, and the court is not going to take that into consideration in determining guilt or innocence. So as far as international support goes, I think it is a knee-jerk reaction because under UN guidelines and international law, the appearance of the U.S. breaking the rules is quite strong. The U.S. position is, we've done this before, we bent the rules, we were successful, and that's why we're doing it again. It's interesting from the international perspective here that one of Maduro's strongest allies, Russia, has said very, very little. And if we read between the lines here into deep, dark politics, one would wonder, has a deal been made, or was there a deal made between Trump and Putin trading off on perhaps the Ukraine war or taking control of Venezuela? That's
happening now.
It hasn't been explored yet.
Thank you very much, Alexander, as always, for being here with us.